Hi everyone, I'm Havish Madhvapati, founder at Havisham Consulting. In this video, I want to show you how to use artifacts on Claude, and we're going to create different types of visualization using JavaScript, Mermaid, MarkMap syntax, React, SVG, HTML. There's a lot to cover. Let's get started. So we'll start with a problem statement. For example, we want to create customer onboarding journey for ICICI. Now, if you only put the text like this, customer onboarding journey for ICICI, you will notice that rather than giving us the text, which let's say a ChatGPT would have done, this is creating a graph for us. As you can see, we are getting a graph here. So this is the mermaid diagram that is based on JavaScript, and I can see the preview. Unfortunately, you cannot download the visualization from here, and to make changes is a little difficult. For example, if I want to change account creation to create account, I can't directly do it on the visual. There are a few different ways of doing it. I can say change account creation to create account. So I have to mention in the prompt that I want to change that. It will change the code and the visualization will change as well. On second thoughts, it's not difficult. It's just that it's a different way of doing it. We are so used to going to the chart and changing it directly. I can also go to the code, and for example, if you see, we have activation at the top and I want to call it initialization. We can come to the code and we can find where that has been written. So this activation is, let's see. Okay, you can see that we have subgraph activation written here. And if I select that word, we can improve it or explain it. So if I go to improve and I say change to initialization and update it, if I come back to preview, you notice that it did change it here, but not where I wanted. So it requires a lot of finesse, a little bit of trial and error to figure it out. But what we can also do is to go back to the original one, and we can copy the code, or rather the contents, which is the code, by clicking on the button. And then we go to a website called mermaidchart.com. Now this is a paid website if you want to use it for unlimited diagrams, but with a free account, you can make 5 of them. So we go to start editing. We'll create a new diagram. And all we have to do is to paste the code that we have copied. And as you can see, we get the entire SOP like this. Do keep in mind, it might not look exactly the same way because of the way it renders, but it would be quite close to each other. After this, if I go to whiteboard, I can make changes to it just like we do on a PowerPoint. For example, if I maybe want to move this a little to the right, I can do that. If I want to call this customers initiation, I can change the text as well. And then if I want to change the color, we can do that too. That's the border color. So we might have to select the background color like that. And then the text color is white. We go back to editor. You can see the change has been reflected here. And from here, we can go to export as a PNG and we get a high resolution PNG available. As you can see, a high resolution PNG. We can also change the code here in this panel. For example, if I want to call document collection, document collected, right? I can change it here and it will change directly on the chart as well, or rather the diagram as well, document collected. Whatever changes you have done remain on Mermaid. Remember that with the free account, you're restricted to only 5 diagrams, but I guess you can always delete the old one and add a new one. The next thing we can do is to make an SVG. So this one was the Mermaid chart for processes. But if I want to create an infographic, so if I say I want an infographic in Gartner style, and I want 9 HR metrics with Excel formulas, explanation, and stakeholders. And we also mentioned that we want an SVG. Even though mostly when you write an infographic, it prefers an SVG, but you can also force it to create one for you. And as you can see, it is now writing the scalable vector graphic code for you. So that would be the 4th and the 5th. Let's wait for 5 more seconds. Okay, there seemed to be some error that stopped it from working, but not to worry. We can try it one more time. And as an example, I'll start with 3. As you can see, we created a beautiful infographic like this. If you want to see it full screen, we can publish it. And we can now save a screenshot. Now I know that the text is not wrapped correctly, so we can go back and tell it, thanks, make sure that the text is wrapped. So it is rewriting the code for me. Here we go. Looks great, right? Let's try the next one. So if I say petrol prices for metros in India, create a chart using recharts. So as you can see, it is using React and recharts. And we get this. We are not really talking about the accuracy of prices. You can always provide it with your own numbers or upload a file, but this is fantastic. We can also ask it to make the mockup of an entire dashboard. So I want a finance dashboard for Bharat Petroleum Kochi refinery, and I want KPIs with icons and a 16 by 9 layout, and I want to make sure to say I want to use React. Let us publish it. And there we go. We have the mockup of a dashboard. We can also create HTML. So if we say 5 slides on annual performance, and I want to create using HTML. So now you can see it is writing the HTML for you. And there we go. Like that. It may not be perfect in the sense that you can't just directly copy and paste it, but with a little more effort, you can do that too. Let's do a few more examples. Now, if I say I want to create a vendor checklist, I want a calculator with weights to each of the 10 points, calculate score at end and use 3 colors. The points are clickable, should have icons and tooltip, and as you can see, so I'm not specified what I want to do, so it is using React here. Of course, we can tell it the points that we wanted as well if we wanted to. But for the moment, it is choosing points of its own, creating the weights, doing the calculation. Now, don't worry if you get an error. Whenever there's an error, generally, if you ask it to fix it, it will do it for you. If despite a few attempts, it still does not work, maybe you can start afresh, or you can have a chat with Claude, asking it to either simplify it or do it step by step. Maybe your prompt was too ambitious and you were trying to do too much too soon. So it might make sense to do it part by part. But again, as you can see, I can click on these. The weights are there and I get the score at the end as well. Let's do one final example. We can also upload a file. For example, I'm uploading an Excel workbook right now. Now this has sales for a company. And if I just say, create a column chart to show sum of sales for all markets, and tooltip on hover on each column should show a pie chart with sales for each category. Now Claude will be working with JavaScript. So unlike Google Gemini and OpenAI ChatGPT that use Python code. This uses JavaScript. That is the default. We can't change that. But more or less, you will get a similar looking output. As you can see, it is written the entire JavaScript code here. Now it is using React to create the final chart. And it looks like this. Exactly what we wanted. So of course you can experiment with all of these things, but as of now, as of the date of recording of this video, this is what it can do. It can obviously do a lot more, but experimentation is key. And also remember that they inevitably will keep on adding more and more features in the future. Final takeaway would be to not give up if you don't get the correct answer the first time. Just try in a different way, talk to Claude, try to understand why it isn't working. And it doesn't hurt you to also ask Claude to tell you how it did it. While the output might be great, it also makes sense to be able to justify what you have done. Because in case I have to present this to a client and the client expects me to make some last minute changes, while it is okay that I'm using generative AI, I still should have a high level working understanding of how these things work.